Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our weekly video series. I'm Peyton, and I'm joined by Corey and Yaila. And we have another fun topic for y'all today. Today, we are going to be doing a companion piece to our recent video where we talked about some of the red flags when you are evaluating a spiritual teacher or leader. So today we are going to flip that on its head and we're going to talk about some of the green flags. So when you are looking for someone to follow on social media, follow their videos, or work with someone as a teacher or a coach, what are some of the signs of integrity? We've talked about some of the things you might want to be wary of, and today we're going to talk about some of the things that can indicate that you're working with someone who is going to be beneficial to you. So I'd like to start with you, Yaila. What do you look for or recommend to people when they are trying to figure out what teachers to trust, who to work with, learn from? What are some of the things that signal integrity to you?
Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited that we are doing the green flag addition to the red flags that we made previously. Because I feel like right now there's a lot of swirly information is the best way I will put it. I don't necessarily want to say disinformation. I feel like that word is overused, but there's swirly information. People get swirly. And people are human beings. We have our, when we're in our work and in our practice, we can be on point. Other times we can lose the way. So some things that I look for in a spiritual leader or even anybody of authority. Obviously, integrity is the first and foremost. So what do those signs look like? I'm going to keep mine pretty simple. They are somebody who doesn't get offended if you ask a lot of questions. And I've heard that in different religious studies from family members and friends where they had questions about just the thoughts, the beliefs, and they were reprimanded for asking questions, being curious. So a spiritual leader or authority figure or teacher who loves questions, they love you to explore and find your own answers. Someone who encourages you to be curious, not just hold the status quo. That's what we always done. This is just how it is. Live with it. For me, that's a green flag. Ask a lot of questions, be curious. A teacher that or a leader that helps you discover your own answers. If someone believes that they themselves are the end all be all or whatever they are promoting is the end all be all, that's also something to be wary of. So someone who helps you discover your answers, someone who encourages your personal connection to whatever modality you're learning. You want someone that's going to encourage you to strengthen your own gifts. Someone who is still in their work. Whenever this actually comes from the coaching background, when I was a health coach, I always noticed that when somebody felt that they were done, like, okay, cool, I'm done. That's for me just the beginning. When you feel like you've gotten a hang of something, you've just gotten started. So if you are working with any type of spiritual teacher or leader who is no longer in their practice or has kind of cut off any of their own individual growth, that to me, would be a sign to pay attention to. So somebody who's still in their practice, who does their work, who's also learning to grow and expand. Another green flag is someone who wants you to explore different modalities, different learnings. So in our last video, when we talked about leaders that are just looking for you to only pay them, only sign up with them, again, we can't be the end all be all for everybody. So a teacher who encourages you to find your own path, find your own way. Someone who gives you your own sovereignty, who helps instill that you know your body, you know your mind, you know the places that you're wanting to go, and encourages you to find the true answers for yourself. Because yes, we all have blind spots, but do you have a teacher that helps you look for those, identify those, and figure out which path you feel guided to go. And if you're a student, or if you want to ask them their recommendation, they give you variants of recommendations. They're not just giving you one resource, the end all be all. So for me, generally speaking, someone who encourages your own growth is in their growth, obviously acting out of integrity, not just wanting your paycheck, not just wanting your money, but who's really benefiting you in many ways, who's teaching you tools, actual things to strengthen what you're going to them for, whether it's your spiritual practice, whether it's your business practice, whatever you are looking for guidance in. Someone who's teaching you actual practical tools to help you develop and expand on your own is a huge green flag. And then I think the last thing I would say is someone that you resonate with. Someone who, when you work with them, you feel good, you feel inspired, you feel encouraged, you feel that you can accomplish what you're going after. Those are really good green flags, in my opinion, because your body, like we've said it before, will never lie. So go with someone that you feel you resonate with, who, again, makes it feel light, makes it feel fun, expansive. If you ever feel you're going to the negative, if you ever feel shut down, if you ever feel crunchy, if you ever feel encouraged to look at the separateness of yourself versus other people, like I'm better than because I do XYZ and somebody else is less than because XYZ, pay attention to that. A true spiritual leader will help encourage growth and expansion in all levels. And we're here on the planet. We're here to work with each other in various ways and interact with each other various ways. So I think it's kind of the height of arrogance for someone to put people in constant separation and better than, less than. To me, that's not a true spiritual leader. A true leader involves everyone in the program and brings them up with their own strengths. So that's where I would start with my green flags. But how about you, Corey?
Those are great green flags. Actually, I liked those. So green flags. When do you know that you have connected with the right person to learn from? Well, for me, I have to say that a good green flag is somebody who comes from the frequency of love, that has a loving, kind nature, and that has some humility. And humility meaning that they don't think it's their way or the highway, or that they claim that they know everything. A green light is when somebody, a good spiritual leader or a teacher, has humility and that frequency of love and kindness. That for me, that's number one. Another green light is a sense of humor. I need somebody, for me, that has a sense of humor, somebody that can laugh at themselves, and another green light is somebody who is open-minded, because believe it or not, there are a lot of teachers and spiritual leaders that don't really have much of a sense of humor. I mean, yes, the spiritual work, that inner work, it is important. It is. It's really important. But we've talked about it in other videos that when we get too serious and we're not in a lighthearted amusement place, the energy doesn't flow. Doesn't flow well at all. It requires a lot of effort. And we have that video out, effort versus flow. Okay, so a spiritual leader and teacher, a green light, is when they can be open-minded, and that sense of humor always helps. I know for me, I need that. And I loved what you said, Yaila, about integrity. Not do as I say, not as I do. It's do as I say and as I do. Somebody who is practicing what they preach, so to speak, or practicing what they teach. That's huge for me. Also, too, I love, Yaila, when you said about, a teacher is willing to answer a lot of questions. I know for me as a teacher, I learned so much from the questions that are asked. And I don't claim to know everything. And so green light is when a teacher claims they don't know everything, because energy is always changing. There's many different frequencies. There's energy is always changing. So that's one of the reasons why I love energy work, is because it's not something that you can master and be done with it. You're always changing and growing. So a green light is when you find a teacher who is excited about growing and changing and helping you to grow and change. Another green light, yep, Yaila, I loved that one where you said that when a teacher empowers the student, or the spiritual leader empowers the student to walk their own journey and to find maybe other modalities that teach you discernment. Energy is not right or wrong. It's just what resonates with you. Because we come in to this earth plane with certain contracts, and not everybody has the same contracts. And maybe in another life, you learned something that somebody else didn't learn and signed up to learn in this lifetime. So even though it may not resonate with somebody else, it may resonate with you. Or maybe if it resonates with you, it doesn't resonate with somebody else. So a spiritual leader, a green light, is somebody who encourages you to find your own journey and to go where it resonates with you, and not make anything good or bad or right or wrong, but whatever resonates with each individual. Another green light is that might be all I have for now. Okay, another green light. Another green light is somebody who really does support you. Not just, go to class or have your time together and then that's it. Somebody who really actually cares and supports you and is willing to help you and answer those questions, but still supportive of your individual journey. That's really important. It's not just class or a session and see you later. But somebody who really does genuinely care and supports your journey. That's a biggie too. All right, well, what have you got, Peyton?
Thanks, guys. Those were really good. I agree with everything that y'all said. I think those are great signs that you found your right teacher when they start to show a lot of these characteristics. So my green flags are very similar to what you guys shared. My number one is always, and this is because of the work I'm doing with the Pleiadians, it is always that I'm looking for someone who is teaching me to do this myself, to get the answers myself, as opposed to making me dependent on them or any other source of information outside of me. So the Pleiadians are like a broken record on this lately, wanting us to be our own guru. So in anyone that I am following or working with myself, I always want to see that they're teaching me to do it, which is what you guys said about empowering us to get our own answers. And along with that, to me, it's always a good sign when you have a teacher or someone you're following who encourages you to get proper training and education, whether it is with them or with someone else with the right credentials. Because while all of this work is amazing and I love to teach people to do it themselves, there are certain points in the process that having a teacher is very beneficial. Because with energy work, you want to be doing this in a way that is safe, because like the human world, the spirit world has love and light beings and ones that are less helpful. So you want to do this work safely and you want it to work. You want it to be effective. I tried to do things myself for about 7 years and got pretty much nowhere. So for me, someone who encourages you to get proper training at those points in your journey where it will really benefit you. I think that's always a great sign of a spiritual teacher or leader, that they are empowering, but then they also tell you, okay, this would be a good time for you to work with someone, to have someone to guide you more closely. Let's see. Another thing that I would say is a green flag, or something that I value, is when someone is encouraging you to trust your intuition more than anything else, more than what they are teaching you, more than what anyone else in the spiritual community may be saying. Because right now, you are the only one who knows what's right for you. This is purely self-help work. No one else outside of you has the right answers. So for me, if any teacher is telling me to listen to them or any source of outside information over my own intuition, that would be cause for concern. So for me, someone who encourages you to listen to the feedback you're getting from your intuition, and always, as the three of us say, from your body, I think that's always a very good sign. Now, something else that I always look for, and Yaila, I think, touched on this, is this person that you are considering, are they serving or are they just selling? Because there's a big difference in the spiritual community right now between people who are truly of service, who are truly trying to help humanity, help us through the ascension process, and those who are just looking to make money. And you don't even have to look hard to figure out what category people are in, but it's time for us to start looking to see which lane people are in. Because for me, I always want to see someone who is truly of service. And that doesn't mean you can't make money from what you're doing, or that we don't have to. It's kind of the paradigm that we're in. But there's a big difference these days between people who are just in it for the money and people who are truly being of service to the world and wanting to make it a better place, wanting to help their clients, as opposed to just seeing them as a meal ticket. So it's something to, if you don't look at that, it's something that it's a good thing to start checking into, because your intuition will just tell you, and you can then make your decision based on that. Let's see, any other green flags? Something else that pops up to me is, I think it's a good idea for us these days to be asking whether a teacher is truly high vibrational or whether they are just putting up a mask. Because we are seeing a lot in the spiritual community that have very shiny facades, but when you look behind that, it's a totally different picture. So what the Pleiadians keep saying is, it's time for us to up our discernment, to be a little more questioning of the people we put our trust and our authority in, especially if we are investing our time and our money in them. So we need to do a little more looking behind the curtain, because anyone can have a shiny social media account. Doesn't mean that they have the vibration that matches that. So, checking in with your intuition. Is this person truly someone that you want to look at as an authority? Because as you follow them, as you work with them, you are connecting with their energy. So looking behind the curtain a little, kicking the tires, I think is very wise in the world these days. Let's see. Oh, and then one other thing that is always a good sign for me is when people are encouraging their students and their clients to do their own research, to go out there, to question things, as you guys mentioned, but to not just take what is being fed to them, because it's really not a good time to be blindly following anyone. We are the ones who are making the decisions of what to invest our time and attention in. And so for me, I like to see people who are encouraging people to question them, to challenge them, as you guys touched on, say they don't have all the answers, and who tell you to just take what resonates and leave the rest. And so anyone who is telling you they know the answer, they know what is right for you, I think that ship has sailed. I just find that to be not relevant anymore. No one has the answer for you but you. So I always like to see people telling others to take it or leave it, because to me, a true leader doesn't care if you agree with them. They are sharing what they know as of this time, and they will tell you, take it if it resonates with you, ignore it if it doesn't. And so to me, that's always a great sign. And then the last thing that I would throw out as a green flag would be someone who has been properly trained. And again, in the spiritual world, you don't have to have any training. You can watch a YouTube video and put yourself out there as pretty much anything. And there's a lot of that out there. So I strongly encourage people, especially if you are investing money with these people, but even if you're investing your time, if you are watching their videos, learning from them, to me, it's very important to know what is their authority to say what they're saying. And a truly trained person, someone with credentials, is happy to tell you where they're coming from, what their background is, how they were trained. And to me, that is very important. Just because if you are working with someone or following them, do you want someone who watched one video and decided they were an expert? Or do you want someone who has trained for a decade in multiple modalities? Again, it's all your choice, but it's something that's worth looking into, because there's a big difference in the results you can get depending on where you personally draw that line. And everyone draws their own, but for me, I like to see that someone can back up what they're saying. And so that's something I throw out for your consideration. It may not be important to you, but to me, there's such a wide scale that's being offered right now that it's a very relevant question to ask. So those are the flags that jump out at me as being good signs. Anything else popping to y'all's mind?
Something else that pops in my mind is, very similar to, are they walking their talk? Are they actually what you are hiring them for or working with them for? Have they achieved that? Are they on their way to achieve it, still in the learning process, or have they actually achieved a certain level, a couple steps beyond where you're at? They don't have to maybe be the end all be all, but have they achieved a couple steps ahead of where you're at? Because they can walk you through that process in a better way than someone who's figuring out alongside with you. So we're always hopefully growing and learning as spiritual teachers and leaders. But if you're hiring someone to guide you, you want to make sure that they've kind of been down the path of a certain amount of distance before you work with them. I think that's another green flag. If they've reached a level of things that you are wanting to understand and grow for yourself, that's a good sign.
Yeah, I agree. And, Peyton also too. I loved it when you said, what are their credentials? If you ask somebody who you're considering taking their classes, or even on social media, if they get offended by you asking where did they get their training, that's a red flag. But if they're open and say, oh, I was here, I went there, I did this, that's a green flag, especially these days. There was many years ago, probably, the 60s or 70s, where really the only training that a lot of the mediums got, or the channelers got, was actually from spirit. And because there really wasn't any education going on. However, the world was a different place back then. In today's world, you're better off taking classes, finding your tribe. Those are green lights. So to ask somebody, where they've trained, et cetera, that's a green light. And if they're really open-minded, that's a big green flag, especially in today's world. because there's a lot of trickster energy out there. There's a lot of charlatans out there. And listen to your body. If you get that little ping, that's not a green light.
What else is popping in my mind is competition energy. I've seen it with some different leaders out there when they are competing to stay above you or classmates or other peers. It's, to me, that's something to watch out for. So someone who's not in competition with you, who wants to see you win. As a teacher, I know I would love to see my students go far beyond where I've been able to reach. And I hope their students go far beyond where they've reached. For me, it's about expansion. It's about growing the love, the awareness, the light. And I know I've come with certain programming that I've been working through, and I'm helping my students to clear that faster. But I would love to see anybody that I work with and come in contact with, it's like a win energy. Givers give, takers take. So I love to see leaders out there that give, that love to see their students win, even if they excel past them. That to me is a green flag. Big one.
That's great. Yeah. And I think that something that goes with that, the other side of that coin, is the ego arrogance piece of the puzzle. Because again, what that shows you is who is actually doing their own work. Because there's a big difference in the spiritual community about having a lot of knowledge and actually having done the hard work. And I think we're starting to see that really split apart, where there's, we have been able to succeed up until this point by just having knowledge and selling knowledge, and so a lot of people have done very well, but haven't necessarily done the same amount of personal work on themselves. And so there's a difference between knowledge and putting it into practice. And that's the whole, are they walking their talk? If you're hiring them to show you how to live a better life, are they living the life you want to have? Because again, talk is cheap. And we haven't really had the tools to discern that until the last couple of years, where we're starting to see all of this. We're starting to see who actually is of high vibration and who is just a good salesman, and things that used to be swept under the rug and we couldn't really tell. The flashlight is shining on that now. And so we're seeing, I think, a lot more than we used to be able to see. So for me, arrogance and ego is one of those good signs that maybe all is not as it seems.
Agreed. That was a very good one.
So girls, anything else jumping out? Any other green flags? I think we've got a good 100 to get people started.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us on our videos. We're so glad to have you guys. As always, reach out to us with any questions or comments, and we always appreciate your help in getting these videos out. So thank you for your likes, your shares, your follows, your comments. We are truly grateful for you and for your help in getting these videos to anyone else who can benefit from them. So we will see you next week. Thanks for joining us. Bye.